on the line, and now so much to overcome. As he will head back to that corner. First time with Buddy McGirt. Chico Rivas is working the cuts. A lot of damage done.
Where you at, DJ? Chico, tell him he's got to use his jab. And he's got to move the head. Don't walk straight in. Water, baby, water. I got it. DJ, you got to walk straight in. Tell him you got to walk straight in, DJ. Okay. He can't walk straight in. He's got to use the double jab. And move the head. Tell him don't listen to the crowd. Tell him don't get caught up into the crowd, DJ.
You see the quick hands, but more importantly, you see the nice, smooth flow of Sillakh, and you see combinations. You're not seeing one punch at a time. So, yeah, Despaigne has a decent defense. He blocks, he moves a little bit. Would work against 2, 3 punches. But 4 or 5, they start to find their mark a little bit, especially when Despaigne is in a defensive manner to begin with.
See how those cuts hold up here in round number 4. Ismayl Sillakh off to a great start here in this meaningful main event. The 10-8 second round on Teddy's scorecard. That's when he scored the knockdown in the closing moments of that second round. This is a fast rising light heavyweight prospect. Many are very, very high on him. He's tall, over 6'3", has a huge wingspan, very good athleticism. He impressed last spring in getting rid of Daniel Judah, and now off to a fine start in this fight against the unbeaten Cuban Yordanis Despaigne.
I know so far it's hard to make an argument for Despaigne, but fights aren't made for only 4 rounds at this point in people's careers. It's 10 rounds. And we're going to find out if Sillakh can keep himself together as Despaigne tries to reach into that amateur background, that confident background, and tries to find a way to turn this around. You know, one thing I noticed, it's obvious that Sillakh has it all his way, but I would still have some hope if I'm in the corner of Despaigne, not just because you're supposed to, but I noticed that, yes, Sillakh was a terrific amateur, just like Despaigne. He had 317 amateur fights. He won the silver in the 2005 World Championship. But I was looking into those records, Joe, and I noticed he was stopped several times in top competitions in the amateurs. Didn't lose decisions. He got stopped by some of the top amateurs in some of those competitions. To me, that would be the Achilles heel. That would be the hope for Despaigne. Despaigne was a good amateur. He lost at the top sometimes, but he didn't get stopped.
Heard Buddy McGirt after that last round saying, do not walk straight in. He walked straight into a lot of damage in round 2 and 3. Here he has steadied himself a bit as Despaigne. Now on the inside, just trying to smother Sillakh.
Sillakh does a little punching inside with a short right hand, a little bit behind the head. That's a rapid punch. That's something the referee's going to have to keep an eye on.
The right hand to the body that time.
Much better round for Despaigne, because a round that you can build on. Because right now you gotta find a reason to have confidence. This round's giving him a reason to have a little confidence.
He survived. You see the grease applied over both brows of the unbeaten Cuban, Yordanis Despaigne. Cut over the right eye early in the 3rd round, cut over the left eye later in that very same round. Been a wildly entertaining main event, both unbeaten light heavyweights. A reminder, Saturday on ABC, coverage will start at 2:30 Eastern for NASCAR's nationwide series at Vegas, the Samstown 300. As they continue to rev it up here at ESPN's Wide World of Sports in Disney World. Ismayl Sillakh scoring the knockdown in round 2, and then continuing the insult in round 3 before Despaigne settled in round 4.
Again, Despaigne wants to get to the power shots, but for me, it's the jab that's going to make that possible. And he's starting to use that jab a little more. And what that's doing, even when he doesn't land the power shot, it's keeping Sillakh from landing his shots, from controlling the rhythm, from having that nice flow. And it puts him on the ropes, where Despaigne has a much better chance.
And now a little bit of a comeback, a rally by Despaigne. Left hand to the body from Sillakh. There's a right hand that was well timed. Lead right from Despaigne. Boy, if these cuts hold up, you almost have the sense that Despaigne's going to be there every step of the way.
Again, if I'm Despaigne's corner, I'm using that jab, telling him use that jab. Stabilize this guy. Do that. Get close to this guy.
He lands a good, solid left hand, follows it up with a right hand when Sillakh was against the ropes, turning out to be a pretty decent round number 5 for the Cuban. Wide sweeping right hand was off the mark. Got a little too aggressive that time, and now Sillakh comes back and works that jab, doubles it up.
Again, the jab for Despaigne, so important. Not only because it can land, not only because it can set up the right hand, but it keeps Sillakh from having that nice flow, that nice rhythm, being the boss on the outside. It gives him something that disrupts him. And if I'm Despaigne, I think I'd like to go to that body. It's a skinny body. And Sillakh likes to move that body around, likes to use those legs. You go to the body a little bit, those legs might start slowing down a little bit.
There's a left hand nearly to the hip that time, right on that belt line. There's a good snapping jab off the hip from Despaigne.
Everybody looked at this fight going in, and they see Hercules there in Despaigne. They say, he's just going to have to land a big shot. It's the jab that's going to get him back in this fight, and has gotten him back in this fight.
Good fight here. This is what happened in the closing moments of round number 2. The right hand from Sillakh that floored Despaigne. Lucky to survive that round.
Watch the jab. See, that last jab was put in front of his eyes, and then it gets taken away, and the right hand is right there. A right hand that Despaigne did not pick up.
Round number 6 of our main event. Such a meaningful fight. 2 undefeated light heavyweights signing on to fight each other. Both guys who are very promising, fast-rising prospects, soon-to-be contenders for the victor, a launching pad fight that'll get him into the Ring Magazine top 10 at 175 pounds. Glad to be joined by Yordanis Despaigne's trainer, Buddy McGirt. Buddy, we just saw what happened in round number 2. You've done a good job of settling down your guys, saying, hey, don't look for the knockout. Don't walk straight in. How do you see this fight right now?
Well, you know, he's getting caught up in the crowd. He's trying to knock the guy out, trying to show that he's tough. You know, and this kid's a good fighter. So, you know, we got to be sharp. This kid is really sharp. And, you know, he's a very good counterpuncher.
You know, Buddy, it's Teddy here. Everybody looked at your fighter, and he looks like Hercules. He's this bigger guy. He's the more physical-looking guy. And a lot of guys thought he had to just go in there and land the power shots. From the beginning, I thought the key for your guy was to use the jab.
That's all he has to do, Teddy. You know, old school way. Just keep the double jab. Once he gives the jab, he gets in range. But, you know, when he sits outside waiting for the bomb, the guy's catching him lunging in.
I agree with you. This fighter, Sillakh, is a rhythm fighter. He's a guy that likes to get a rhythm going. He's very smooth, but that jab disrupts his rhythm.
Yes, and that's the key. You know, I'm telling my guy, you know, don't try to hit him with the right hand from the outside. You're too far out. You know what I mean? So if he gets the jab and gets in range, then he can let his hands go, Teddy.
I agree with you. You want to see him go to the body, that's a skinny body. You want to see him start to take that body apart a little bit, too?
I've been telling him to jab to the chest. Don't worry about the head, because this gentleman leans back. So this jab is chest and body. The head will come eventually.
Buddy, thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Buddy McGirt, of course, 2-time world titleist, the long-standing, top-level elite trainer. Now working with Yordanis Despaigne for the first time. Heard in between rounds. The translation that's being done in the corner as the urgency really kicked in at the end of round number 2. And Buddy had to get his point across. Chico Rivas has been working on those cuts and helping with some translation.
You know, some young fighters, some fans out there, they might say, well, why would Buddy tell him to throw to the chest? You're not going to hurt him in the chest. It's not about hurting him. It's about getting contact. It's about finding him.
Touch him, touch him.
You throw to the head, you miss him. You throw to the chest, you find him. And then you can find him with something else.
I'll tell you, they've done a good job on the cuts, Teddy.
Here they have.
The blood was streaming down throughout round number 3. And they've done a good job of containing things here.
Well, 3 things to deal with those cuts. You have to have the right medicines, the right coagulants. You have to have adrenaline. You have to have Avatine. That's the white powder that you see. That's what's allowed in there. And you have to have pressure. And you have to have a guy who's not a big bleeder. Despaigne, not a big bleeder, it looks like.
Well, that jab actually just hit right on the target of one of those cuts. And now Buddy's got to get back to work. Stay with us. More to come.
Chuck doing a good job getting the right shots. There's the jab, setting up the right hand. We said it all night long to look for this. The jab sets it up, it blinds him, and the right hand right behind it. Jab takes his eyes away, Joe. That's all it is. You know, if you notice that jab, it's not even landing. It's not jarring him. It's not scoring points, but it's taking his vision away, opening the door for the right hand.
Creating opportunity. Many times, that's why when you look at the CompuBox punch stats and you see the jabs, you really want to key in on jabs thrown. Sometimes just as effective. Let's look at some of those numbers, and you see the jabs thrown for Sillakh, 208, Despaigne, 182.
And again, that's the key for me. Yes, Despaigne needs to go to the body. Yes, he needs to land the right hand, especially in a fight that he's behind. But most importantly, he needs to use that jab. Again, not just to set up the punches for himself, but to take the rhythm, the offense away from his opponent.
Just at the end of the last round, there was a good stiff jab that landed on that cut right eye. And now the right eye of Despaigne is much more of a concern than it was for the last 4 rounds. It was cut in round 3, but here is worsened in round number 7 as he tries to come forward with the right hand. An impressive outing tonight so far by the Ukrainian native, now fighting out of California, Ismayl Sillakh. His first televised, nationally televised main event. Of course, had the knockout of Daniel Judah on the undercard of the Roy Jones-Bernard Hopkins pay-per-view. But for many, this really the first time they're getting a good look at the talents of Sillakh. So many so high on his future.
And both fighters knew, obviously, and prove it on the scales, Joe, of what was at stake here. You think Sillakh's going to run out of gas? Maybe mentally, but not physically. He's came in tonight the lightest since his debut. So he knew what was at stake. And the other man, Despaigne, does he have it in the gas tank to come back if he can avoid those right hands? Yes, he came in the lightest of his career.
Good stiff jab that time, snaps the head back by Sillakh. There's a lead right hand. And now blood streaming down the face of the unbeaten Cuban.
So we're not just seeing the physical skills, the skill sets of Sillakh. We're seeing the preparation, the cerebral preparation. He looked at film and he saw what we saw. You can hit Despaigne with right hands, and you want to keep him off balance. And he's doing both those things. That right eye cut looks angry.
Starting to take on a crescent shape and curving down against the outside of that eye. There's a good right hand again by Sillakh, and you can see in that bounce in his step starting to get in that rhythm again as Despaigne keeps coming forward.
You know, it's getting late. Despaigne needs to double that jab up, get in there, land the right hand, and I think he should go to that body. Take those legs away a little. You ever see how a pitcher changes the angle that he's throwing the pitch? He goes sidearm. Well, that's exactly what Sillakh did here. Watch. He blinds him with the jab, and then he goes sidearm with the right hand, loops it a little bit, because he understood that the glove was in a position where he couldn't land it straight.
Usually straight is great. Not in that case. He did a good job of altering that punch. That was a dominating 7th round. The last round power punches, you see 15 of 25 landed by Ismayl Sillakh.
See, that's the experience, the calmness, the confidence that all that amateur background gives someone like Sillakh. He could see the opening was on the outside, and he changed the angle of the punch.
Buddy McGirt told Despaigne, you cannot stay on the outside. He is picking you apart at this point.
I agree 1,000%. At this point, use that jab to get close. Double it up. There's a distance. One's not going to get you close enough. That's what you need. 2, and then follow it with your feet and with the right hand.
Dr. Robert Boltich came over to the corner of Despaigne. and was checking out those cuts, asking how the vision was.